So be on your best behavior, everybody. It's official.
Go ahead, Chad.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Warwick Zoom garden plot. This is season 2, episode 10. Yeah, we've labeled it season 2. Hopefully we go up to season 50, you know, be like The Simpsons or something. But welcome, everyone. And we have some new members. Michael, you want to do a brief intro or just kind of let it go and see of who's joining us?
Okay, well, up to now, I've noticed that the two new faces on tonight's screen are from Montgomery. I got that right, Mark, huh? And Terry?
Yes.
So they're from the community garden there. They learned about our Zoom garden plot, and they're thinking about doing a copycat up in Montgomery. We couldn't be happier. We think it's a great idea for everyone to be copying. And so we're happy that they're here and willing to help with whatever we can to help them get started there.
Yeah, we want to be like an invasive species and take over.
Like bindweed.
Oh no, let me see if I have this in the proper. Oh wait, see now I got my thing up. But how do I put it in? To go to the next page. Oh, I guess I have to do, even though it should be in the presentation mode. I'm messing that up. All right, tonight's agenda: garden updates. We have Michelle Dunn. We're excited to see all the stuff she's been talking about. Now we get to see it, and Leslie. So first we start out with updates of what gardeners have been up to. Then we have a question and answer session, a little shimmy in place. I forgot to do that little break, and then announcements. And many times question and answers will come from a lot of the people showing us their garden and what's going on there. So first up is Michelle Dunn's garden. And we'll start with these two wonderful pictures. And Michelle, feel free to take it away.
Okay, thanks, Chad. Hi, everybody from Montgomery joining us. I'm over in Campbell Hole, so not that far from you. The picture on the left is of my herb garden. You can probably see the bright orange blobs. That's the calendula. A lot of these I did not start from seed. I cheated and got them as seedlings from Midsummer Farm in Warwick. They have wonderful organic seedlings for sale. And I try to support her, you know, where possible. So there's calendula in there. Further down, the quality is not that great, but further down towards the shady bit, you might be able to see some chamomile. Back right there, I have some pineapple sage, some Italian sage. There's quite a few hot peppers that I'm experimenting with in this spot. Formerly, they were in pots on our back deck, which is really nice and warm, but this year we wanted to concentrate on saving the space for tomatoes, tomatillos, and Cape gooseberries. So I'm experimenting with different hot peppers there. I've got jigsaw peppers. I think I've got some habaneros in there, cayenne, a bunch of different things. I have thyme. There's some rosemary in there, and a bunch of different kitchen type herbs. On the right, I have the shallow bed right to the left of the picture in the back against the fence. That is really just my dahlias. It's the only safe place that I can plant dahlias away from the deer, so they make it into the vegetable garden. I have some cosmos interplanted. I usually also plant bulbs in that same bed, so I have some beautiful tulips coming up there. To the right of that is my, I forget the name of it, and somebody might be able to help me out. It is a long zucchini. It's curved, and they might be in the next picture, Chad. It might show it. It's a vertical zucchini. There we go. Oh, I just remembered. Zucchini rampicante. You can eat it as a summer squash, or you can leave it on the vine and you can wait for it to mature further and then store it like a winter squash. Apparently, this is my first year. I'm excited. We're harvesting a lot of the zucchini blossoms already. I try to tell Rick to stick to the males after he's dusted them around. And of course, you know, the way he loves to make it isn't all that healthy for you, because he stuffs it with goat cheese and then we dip it in beer batter and fry it. So it should be an occasional treat, not a every 2-3 night affair. On the right of that is, Chad, you might recognize that. That's my Aps Americana. It's the ground nuts. You can just see the little vines beginning. That's 2 of them. Yes, you got it. 2 of the 5. There's a third one not pictured here on the left. I gave up and used that space for, I think that's some tomatillos right next to them there. In the end, I needed the space and I just threw plants in, but they did finally start poking their little heads up. The whole plant, for those of you who missed it, of the Aps Americana, it's a perennial vegetable. You can eat the racemes, the flowers. You can eat, I believe, the leaves. But definitely the tubers taste something like a sweet potato, and the Native Americans used to cultivate this particular plant. I got these at great cost from the internet late in the season, so I was really crossing my fingers that they'd come up, and they did. Okay, and then I think gave 2 more pictures. Yep. Yeah, that is just the one on the left is just a little bit of a further pull out of the bed that I ended up interplanting with other things when I thought they weren't going to come up. So I've got some, I think, some tomatillos in there. On the left of that, the far left of the picture is a honeydew melon. We'll see how good it does there. My plot is super, super shady. So I move things around experimentally. The only true sun we have is the picture on the right there, which is the squashes. In the squash tunnel, I grow my squashes vertically in order to save space. The bed on the left has honey nut, I believe it is, smaller butternut, very, very sweet. We saved the seeds from honey nut we got from one of the farms near here, and we hope it will breed true. On the right, I have Delicata Squash. I have a loofah sponge in there and another melon. We'll see how that does. It's a lot of vines. Okay, going down, Chad, if you can scroll. I don't know, is there another one in there?
I think that was all the pictures. Maybe I missed one, sorry.
Oh, no. Maybe I didn't send it to you. I didn't send it to you. I mean, there are other things that I've planted this year. I've done cucumbers. The cucumbers are doing very well. Also planted them vertically, leaning up against the fence. I found 1 or 2 spots close to where the squashes are that I just threw some tomato plants in, and we'll see how those do. But my tomatoes on the deck is really what I'm super excited about. We had a complete abysmal failure last year. With bottom rot, and we try to grow heirlooms. And I've heard in the meantime that calcium in the form of eggshells would have remedied that problem, but it was already too late in the season. So I'm really crossing my fingers this year for the tomato harvest. And that's it for me.
Thank you. That was very nice. I appreciate it. Now I could, because I have not yet planted my groundnuts, so I see what to look for when I do plant them.
I like that squash tunnel. My wife actually purchased a couple of them. We haven't put them in yet, but I really like that picture.
Thank you. Yeah, they're very useful, and my cat likes to take naps underneath because it's nice and moist and shady. So I usually have a companion in the garden when I'm gardening there, and that's where you'll find her.
Very nice. Any other comments or questions about Michelle's garden?
I have a question about the ground nuts.
Hi, Jane.
Hi. I have them all over there. I have a quince that just has ground nuts all over the place. Wow. So I have an abundance in quite a few of my areas that have them. I've tried to replant them around a trellis. Is it the tuber itself that will make the plant?
Yes, as far as I understand, and they grow voraciously. They grow up to 10 feet tall or taller, right, Chad? They really get very tall.
Again, you'll tell me, because I'm planning on I know I want to plant them, and I know plant them, but you're the one doing it as of now. So
yeah. So when do I pull them up? When do I pull them up, and when do I replant them? Because I have had failures so far when I've tried it. So
Yeah, this is my first year, so time will tell. I guess my understanding was that you leave them in the ground for almost a full year before you try to harvest. So closer to the time, I guess I was planning on reading up. I'm trying a lot of other perennial vegetables also. Pictures.
So when did you plant them, in the fall?
No,
or in
I planted them in the
spring?
spring. Yeah, and late.
So you, okay, so you had the ground nut, you had the tuber
Exactly.
in the spring. Okay, so
Yeah.
I guess I would harvest it in the fall. And
I
Well,
don't know if you.
from what I read, sorry, Michelle, I think it says sometimes you have to wait till the second year to
Yes.
harvest.
Yeah.
well,
don't even-
mine are old, so
Oh,
I've
okay.
had them since I've lived here 5 or 6 years.
Oh,
Although
all right.
maybe I'm not picking the old ones. I don't know.
So what are you saying you're having trouble with when you pull out the tubers? Are they edible and they're like
Yeah.
and then but they still growing, or that's it, that kills them when you pull them up? You're saying you don't maybe
I've
save some?
tried planting the tuber again, and it never comes up. Although I shouldn't say that. I have one now that's coming up around the trellis.
Hmm.
I'll just try again. I'll try again and let you know.
I'd say maybe leave a few, maybe just pull half of them up and then maybe leave the others, and then maybe they'll spread. But yeah, but Michelle says they spread pretty healthily, but maybe not, I don't know. That's just what I'm reading.
Yeah,
no.
Jane, were you planting them predominantly for the tubers, or did you try to eat some of the flowers and some of the
No, I was just, well, I love the look of the flowers. I think they're
lovely,
so
aren't they?
pretty.
They're
So
very-
they come up as weeds. They're in the middle of my
Wow.
raspberries. They're in the middle of my quince. It's like they're all over the place. So I've
Very
tried
lucky.
to contain them and plant them someplace, but I do have the one place that it's worked. So I'll just try again and let you know.
Yeah, we'd love to know. We'd love to hear.
I should be careful where I plant them. Definitely don't put them next to other things that it would spread, right? All right, and now thank you very much, Michelle. And now the next will be, where'd it go? Leslie, if you're ready to talk about your garden as well. Thank you.
Now, this is kind of a hodgepodge. If you go down to the second set, Chad. Okay, this is the Keyhole Garden. So there's a celery, you see a pepper plant, there's a pepper plant in the front. The second image is the second bell pepper. That's the front that you only see the frame of. And I put that cage around the composting section because I went out one day, and even though the composter wasn't completely overturned, it looked like it had been disturbed. And I think with 6 inches of brown material on top of all the vegetable scraps, I think if a squirrel tried to get in, they got bored. But I figured just put something over it so they wouldn't be encouraged to come another time. And in the front, in the back, right, there's the third, I think it's a red bell pepper. In the front, that's a cherry tomato. And I was saying a week or so ago that this side of the garden gets sun till about 4. And so I was going to try, I know the peppers do well over there. I've had them on that side before in different, not in this raised bed. But the tomatoes, I figured, let me try one tomato over here. So you see the size of this one in the front right. That's, it's in the green cage, kind of hanging over the front of the.
Okay, there.
Yeah. Now, if you go back to the first 3, this first image is also a cherry tomato that I planted at the same time, but it's on the other side that gets sun until the sun goes down. So it seems those extra 2 hours are really making a difference. And that's just in also a elevated raised bed. And I have the picture on the right is, you can see the tomatoes kind of all over the top. If you pull it up, I planted snap peas in the corners. So the tomato leaves are shading it. but they seem to be doing okay. There are about 6 of them on the other side. And this middle picture is a bit of a mess. I wanted to ask, has anyone grown cucumbers in an earth box? Because this summer is my summer for using elevated raised beds, earth boxes, because I'm thinking until my foot heals, it just makes it easier, not having to run out and water as much and not having to continually bend to get to the plants. But I went out one day and I started training the cucumbers up that trellis, just like a two-sided teepee trellis. The next day I didn't go out because it poured all day. I went out 2 days later and it had just exploded. And I planted 3 cucumbers in the front because I was looking, I think you can see 1 or 2 in the front. It's kind of hard to distinguish because it's a bit of a hodgepodgey mess. But if you go down a little bit, yeah, that's 1 cucumber right there. And there are a few others, but the leaves just took off. And on the other side of it, which you can't see, I have the sugar baby melons. So I put 3 cucumbers on this side, 3 on the other side, thinking the cucumbers would cover this side of the trellis and the melons on the other side would cover. No, it's like 3 would have been tops of one or the other. And I was looking at the earth box, diagrams. Oh yes, put 3 on each side. I think, well, let me try and see. It's like, no. I probably could have put 1 of each or 2. Maybe if I put 3 of one, 2 on one side and 1 on the other, but I'll see how this goes for the rest of the summer. And in the back, you can see there are 2 other elevated raised beds, like it's against the fence. Yeah, that one and the other. And they have tomatoes in it and peppermint, but I didn't get close because while I was doing this, it started raining. So I just figured, okay, I've got a couple of pictures coming. And then today I was on Zoom all day. But I mean, the thing is, everything is growing. And I don't seem to have any squirrels this year. That one day when I looked at the composter and I thought, okay, someone's been, tooling around in here. But other than that, usually some of my tomatoes, I can see they've been eaten. There are lots of birds, there are butterflies, but I don't see any evidence of any squirrels. The groundhogs can't get in. And
well, Leslie, let me, sorry, interrupt you for a second, because you remind me of a good point. And I know Michael was always asking this question, and I went to a seed workshop this week, and the lady said that last year, because I think there was a late frost, like a lot of the acorns were severely compromised, that the trees, and she said last year was insane. She goes, squirrels were searching everywhere for food. I know Michael said, right, remember you said last year the squirrels were quite active. So I was like, stood up in class. I was like, we've been searching for the mystery for that for months. So she said that last year, I think there was that late frost that really affected the squirrels' acorn supply, and that's why they were so aggressive all over.
No, that wasn't.
Oh no, sorry.
I think there's a different explanation. So this is 2021. 2019 was a mast year for the oaks. And so there was, and walnuts. So there was a ton of acorns and walnuts on the ground at the end of the year in 2019. And that's why there was that fed a huge population of squirrels in 2020. But those trees do those mast years so that basically some of their nuts will be left over. If they put out the same number of nuts every year, maybe the squirrel population would eat them all. But every few years, and it's a random number of years, they have what's called a mast year, and they put down more than all the squirrels can eat. That way they can be sure some of the seeds will stick around and start new trees.
Okay. Well.
Assuming that they have motivations, and that's, but anyway. So 2019 was a mast year. 2020, because there was so much food, there was a high squirrel population. And then this year, the squirrel population would have fallen off. That's the way I was thinking it would work. And I haven't seen many
Could be.
squirrels around this year.
Yeah, it hasn't been as bad.
No,
Thank you
no.
very much, Leslie. Your garden's looking very wonderful.
Yeah, I think this is, I'll keep these raised beds, but I think I'm gonna go back to, the raised beds that are right on the ground. Can do more with the space. But I like experimenting with these because they're growing very well and I'm not having to do too much.
Leslie, it's beautiful. I have a quick question for you, Chad, if I can jump in. And you may have said this already, Leslie, but in the picture, bottom right of this, bottom left of the screen,
Yes,
is that a celery in front?
it's celery. Yeah, I have 2 celery and then 1 in the back.
Okay. Is it possible to harvest just individual stalks and for the plant to keep growing?
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah.
You've done that.
Usually I won't take 1, but I'll take 2 or 3 and
Okay.
then leave the rest of the celery and then it just regenerates. Yeah.
Yes. I've tried growing the bottom edge of celery by letting it sit on a countertop until it has roots. And I planted
Oh.
that in the soil. And that's a way to keep your celery going. I've started doing that, but I'm really babying them a little bit. So I didn't want to cut any from them without checking with someone.
Is it growing vigorously?
Not vigorously, but it's growing.
Yeah, I would wait till they're more. I wouldn't cut it too early, but you
Yeah.
can cut them when they're growing, strong. I wouldn't cut them when they're too young and still forming.
Yes, yes. And Leslie, do you blanch them or just let them go green?
Once I harvest them, you mean once I cut them?
No, I thought that, and maybe my understanding of blanching celery is incorrect. I thought that people held them up a little bit to make them paler as they grew it. And it
Oh,
was just a personal preference thing.
I've never done that.
No?
And
Okay.
I actually like them. The deeper green they are,
I do too.
the more flavor they seem to have to me. Yeah.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I just let them grow and I go out and I'll cut, 2 or 3 or 4 stalks off, but I make sure I don't cut more than half.
Okay.
And then, it begins to come right back.
Super. Okay. But I'll try and hold off on butchering mine. Thank you, Chad. And
Yeah.
No, that's all right. But anyone can come in and ask questions. Now we have a bunch of questions for him. Do you think we should? It's almost 8:30. You want to take the stretch part now, or wait a little bit? The sitting and stretching in place.
Shimmy, yeah, shimmy.
Shimmy in place. I blanked out.
It's a good
What?
time. So the idea, folks, is for those who are new here tonight, it's hard on a human body to sit for an hour straight. So we encourage people to stand up and just move around for 1 minute and come and sit back down. We call it shimmy in place. It's a little bit like shelter in place, but it's a lot more
More
fun.
fun.
So we're taking a break for 1 minute.
1 minute.
Shimmy in place.
Mark, you still there?
Garrett, we haven't seen you in a while. How you been?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm doing well, thank you. Everything's going well. I have my little herb garden outside my condo, and I'm working on my parents' garden at their house, which seems to be booming along. Struggling with my peppers. I have something eating the leaves right now, but everything seems to be going well.
Okay. Is that new for you, living in a condo?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Garrett. Your dad is a great guy.
Oh yeah, good. I'm glad. Yeah. I heard you guys got bamboo for the community garden.
Yeah, your dad put me to work.
Well, that's what happens, man.
Exactly. I felt like I was in like a Vietnamese rainforest when I was in the middle of that, cutting that with my loppers.
Yeah. You gotta. Yeah, I'm glad that stuff comes in handy. It's just the best renewable resource for setting up trellises and poles for beans and the whole thing. I don't know if you remember the pictures from last year's garden, but that's kind of how we constantly reuse that stuff or cut it down and make poles out of it and trellis our tomatoes and our cucumbers and all sorts of things.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, if everyone's back. Now, Gail had a question. Do you want to ask the questions, Gail, and I'll show the pictures?
Right, yeah. I'm at the time of year where I have lots of questions. These are just some of them.
Feel free.
I don't know how many years it was that I had a permaculture guy come to my property and I paid him quite a lot of money. And he ended up just giving me, you know, a formulaic document about what I should do on my property. And one of the things he said was plant fruit trees. But I was really kind of annoyed because he never gave me guidance about where to plant them or what the soil type was. And I planted 3 apple trees at the edge of one of my meadows. And I don't know what the problem was. They were probably shaded too much because there were big trees behind them. My meadow itself was a lot of clay, which I had created the meadow from when I dug my pond and then just put topsoil over. He recommended peach trees near the pond, and the roots were way too wet. Anyway, after about 8 years, never seeing one apple, I had to cut down the peach trees. They died. I had a pear tree that maybe I got 3 pears on it, and maybe one was edible. This year, I looked at my apple tree, which had never had an apple, and I looked at my pear tree, and all of a sudden, there's fruit. The pictures probably won't show it. The one you have your hand on now is the pear tree. No, the apple tree, and the other one is the pear tree. But anyway, I've never sprayed them. Once, many years ago, somebody helped me prune them, but they haven't been pruned. And all of a sudden I have fruit. And I have to say, I spent $1,000 on buying all these trees. What is it, like the $20,000 tomato or something? So I don't know what I should do. Should I call somebody in to give me advice? Do people spray? I mean, we're all organic gardeners. I don't want to use pesticides. I don't know what's going to happen. Should I just leave it and see what happens? Any advice about fruit trees? Because I have no experience with them.
Well, Michael, who was the guy last year who gave the, I think he works with the community garden right now in Warwick?
No, it was, you mean the permaculture guy?
Jack McDevitt was on several times last year. He's going back to work now because the pandemic is sort of over for him. But
no, this was a guy who
he might be able to give good advice on your fruit tree.
No. We're not trying to think of your guy. We know a guy that seems to know a lot about fruit trees.
Oh, what's his name? Sorry.
Jack McDevitt.
Has he been on some of the Zoom calls?
Yeah, last year he was. I guess this year he's back to work. So,
Mark, please chime in. Please.
Sure. Well, first of all, it looks like they need to be pruned. It looks like they haven't been pruned in a long time. It looks like you have a lot of weeds around the base, which are not helpful to the plant because they're going to be competing with the plant for nutrients. And then there are organic pesticides that you would probably need to spray because the fruit you have now is, what are we in July? If they ripen around what, August, September, October, there's no guarantee you're going to get fruit because as the fruit matures, you're going to have competition from animals and diseases, from insects and diseases. The fruits are very, our domesticated fruits are full of sugar and things that fungus, bacteria, and insects love. So there's a big competition with that. So unless you protect those fruits, the chances of you getting a really nice fruit, something that's even close to what you buy in the store, is slim to none. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying it's very difficult. We, in our community garden, we have apple trees, and many years they're loaded with apples. And by the time it comes, the apples are ready to pick, they're really poor quality.
So you would recommend an organic pesticide?
There's organic pesticides, but it's tough. I mean, I would call somebody in, but it's commercial growers sprays, even with integrated pest management, they spray. There's a lot of pesticides that have to be put down on a regular basis. They have to be checked. It's a lot of work. It's not an easy thing to get at least for some of these fruits. I mean, blueberries are much more easier to get, and some of the bramble, blackberries and raspberries, but something like an apple or a peach or a pear, they're kind of tough. I would call somebody, call somebody in.
Is it, maybe I could get the contact for is it Jack McDermott? Yeah.
McDevitt, yeah. Email me and I'll make sure you get in contact with him.
Okay. I do have a peach tree that I put in at a different location near my house. And that's the only tree that has been somewhat successful. But for many, many years, I had maybe 300 peaches, and then overnight they disappeared. And 2 years ago, I covered it with a net. And last year's harvest was amazing. I don't know who was stealing all my peaches. Somebody thought it was a squirrel, but with the net, I get an incredible harvest, and I don't spray my peach tree. The only thing is maybe I think 2 birds got into the net, and that's sad.
Deer?
I have so many deer.
I asked that because the apples and the peaches were both eaten regularly by the deer until I put a fence around it.
Yeah, I mean, I do have fences. I don't think it was deer. Somebody had thought, since so many were consumed, it might be a bear. I have bear.
Oh,
But my peaches are okay since I put the net up. I hope. Every year is different. What am I talking about? But after maybe 8 years, it's the first year my apple and pears have fruit. I couldn't believe it. I had stopped looking at them. I was actually just thinking, should I be cutting them down? But I'll try to get somebody to help me with is it okay to prune this time of year?
I would wait till the March before wait. That's they usually prune late winter is when the best time to prune is.
And could you prune pretty severely if you want to, like cut a lot off, or you shouldn't cut that much?
I wouldn't cut too much off at one shot because you could weaken the tree. If you want to prune severely, maybe do it over a couple seasons. So you're not. But do you get a lot of flowers? Is it you don't get flowers, or you just don't get fruit?
No, traditionally I have not gotten the peach tree, lots of flowers, the pear and the apple. I'm not up here all the time, and I wasn't up in Warwick in late May and most of June. So you can see what kind of gardener I am. I'm not supposed to go away. But yeah, I looked today, I was in Warwick today, and a lot of fruit. Yeah.
Well, good luck. I hope you get something out of it. I mean, I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying from what I've seen, it's difficult. And I've seen people who grow peaches without doing anything to them, and they get beautiful peaches. And then I've seen other people who, I've seen other trees that they're filled with, they get brown rot and they drop off before anyone gets anything. So, but good luck. That's really good. You get that many peaches.
Yeah, I'm still eating peaches from last year. Froze a lot. Okay, I have plenty of questions.
Next question.
I want to follow up on something Mark said, though.
Oh, sorry.
Mark mentioned that if you have a lot of weeds around your tree, it's going to be like competing with the tree. Now, I actually have a runaway number of comfrey plants in my yard. If anybody needs comfrey, they can come dig one of mine up. Of course, even if you dig it, it's going to regrow there. But I heard if when you plant a tree, plant a comfrey. And so we have some fruit trees in back, and some of them are struggling more than the others. Let's just put it that way. And my wife is saying, "Oh, you've got those comfrey by them. They're stealing all the nutrients." Is comfrey different?
I'm just new to, I've just read up on it in the last maybe year. I wasn't aware of it, but everything I read about comfrey is like, it's just great for the garden. So it's I don't know if I'd grow it next to it, but from what I hear, you cut the comfrey, you make a tea out of it, you use it as a mulch, and it's just like the amount of nutrients that comfrey has in its leaves and stems are just incredible. So I'm actually looking for comfrey myself. I want to grow it. The only thing I've negative. I've
Stop
heard
by
about
and
it.
pick some of mine up. You're welcome. My wife will invite you over for dinner if you'll take some of it away.
I might take you up on that because I'm planning on maybe converting one of my plots into a rose garden, and I want to use comfrey as the nutrition as grow like a section of it for comfrey, so I can just feed the roses with the comfrey. But the one thing I did hear about comfrey, and I don't know if anyone can verify or what, it has a toxin in there that causes liver damage if you come in contact with it, and I'm a little worried because I don't drink, and I don't want to damage my liver. But I heard that it's like an alkaloid or some kind of, it's a phenol, it's some kind of phenol or something like that, that the plant, natural in the plant, that can actually cause liver issues if you come in too much contact with it. Has anyone heard about that?
I think that's not physical contact. I think that's like if you drink your comfrey tea instead of spraying it on your vegetables, then you get with something. But I think you'd have to drink a lot of that to do some damage. And I also know that it's highly recommended as an herb for doing compresses, like for if you sprain a joint or something. Put a comfrey compress on it right away, and it's like shocking how well it helps. This is a folk remedy and so I can't imagine just physical contact with a plant is staining the liver. That doesn't sound right at all to me.
Yeah, there's quite a few herbalists, Mark, that include comfrey in their healing salves. So
it can't be that bad, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's very common to include that with the calendulas and that type of stuff in a healing type salve.
One thing I would recommend, Gail, that I'm starting to get into is if you take the weeds out and use a cover crop of like clover, that would be very helpful for the plants, because it puts the nitrogen back in the, it fixes the nitrogen in the soil. If I've been using a lot of that in my gardens lately for footpaths and stuff, like a living footpath. I'm big into the any kind of cover crop and clovers like that. That would, and that would suppress the weeds as well if you do that.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. When I planted the trees originally, I planted clover all around, but after about 8 years and never getting any fruit, I just let everything go, thinking, it's a lost cause and I'm going to end up cutting these trees down. But never give up. I guess that's
exactly. Nature works in mysterious ways. Maybe everything worked together right without realizing it.
I'm glad you said something about getting rid of the weeds and replacing it with something beneficial, because I've had apples like 12, 14 years. And this year there are no apples. And last year,
came over to my house.
there were like weeds getting overgrown and everything around it. And I wondered if that was interfering, but I mean, I never did anything with the tree. I just, made sure it was pruned and it was abundant. But I'll do that. I'll plant some clover. I have lots of that in other places, and see if it makes a difference for next season.
What do you have to do with the clover? Can you just leave it, or do you have to dig it under?
I just seeds down.
I just throw the seeds down. I scatter the seeds. You can buy bulk seeds from, Urban Farmer, Territorial Seeds, Eden Brothers. There's a whole bunch of different places that sell bulk seeds, and 1 pound and up. And I just throw it heavily down, and it just comes right up. It's really nice, and it's good for the bees too.
Is there a best time of year for that, or just any time before it rains, or any?
I try to put it in the springtime, and actually, I've started any time of the year up, even late in the fall. I've put clover down, and it seems to come up pretty well. But it does need water when you first start it. It definitely, I wouldn't put it down in the middle of July if you hadn't had rain for a couple of weeks, unless you plan on watering it, because it does need to get established. I would think the spring or the fall would probably be the best, like a lawn kind of thing.
One thing, be careful walking barefoot where you plant it, because the bees love it. And you'll, well, I mean, you'll get stung. I never get stung by bees, but they think that they're being attacked if your feet are coming down as they're busy hanging out with the clover. That's the only caution.
I have a question, Mark, or any of you, about sour cherry trees. I've been out at our community garden now, I guess this is my 11th year, and I remember when those apples that never have gotten apples on them were fairly small. And we've kicked it around a lot. Do we want to keep the trees, or I don't know. I don't attend the meetings so much anymore, but I had a friend in Montgomery who had a couple sour cherry trees in her backyard. She never did anything fancy with them. She had tons of cherries off of those. I used to pick them. And I'm just wondering if any of you have tried that, or they seem to be pretty easy, at least in my experience with the ones in Montgomery.
I actually have 3 of them in pots. I put them in pots intending to take them out and plant them in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
And they seemed to do so well in the pot. When the fall came, I figured I'll leave it and see how it overwinters. And in one of them, the roots broke through the bottom of the pot and went down into the ground. So, but I mean, they grow well. And this year the crop was abundant. And the birds can't eat them quickly enough. So I found I was able to get a lot. Yeah.
I'd like to try some out at our garden sometime, but I don't know that there's room for them.
I have the dwarf ones though, that only grow about 6 feet tall. Are you thinking of taller ones?
Well, the
Actually,
ones I'm experienced with were big trees, but I'm sure there are dwarf varieties.
Because the large tree, I have a large cherry tree. I never get a cherry off that tree.
Really?
It's like the birds will dive bomb it.
Right.
For like 2 or 3 days. And then by the time they finish, there are some on the ground, which the squirrels and the groundhogs get. But I've never been able to get any. So I planted the shorter ones, thinking maybe I'd have a better chance.
Shorter ones, because, we don't want ladders and stuff to.
I have a cherry tree. I got 1 cherry. It's the 3rd year. It's like, I was so excited. I had one cherry sticking out of it. I was like, I got a cherry. So I'm happy if I got my 1 cherry.
So it took 3 years to get established. So next.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was right. I bought it as a stick, so
Yeah.
I knew it was going to take a while.
Leslie, you say they grow only 6 feet tall. That would be perfect for our garden, because we're not looking for big trees.
It's a carmine dwarf cherry.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yes, and they taste good, huh? They taste really
They're
nice.
delicious. If you like that sweet tart taste.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, and like I said, the winters here are no problem in pots, because 2 were in the pots. The other one grew through the bottom of the pot, and it doesn't require anything.
Yeah, we've been going back and forth with our garden. Some people want to keep the apples even though they don't do anything, and other people want to replace it with cherry trees. So it's an ongoing battle. But somebody mentioned the only cherry trees they know are 40 feet high, and I kept saying, I know there's bush varieties, but thank you for that information. I'm going to bring it back to them.
Yeah.
But that's good information.
The garden, Mark, because that sounds like a good option for us.
Yeah, I think it would be great to.
I can't see keeping the apples when they don't produce.
I agree.
Well, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to go along the idea that the apple tree's doing nothing. I mean, it's not making apples, but trees do a lot of things for us, and so there's a long list of what trees do for us. Let's not forget that.
Like
you're right. You're right.
Community garden, you do want some fruit to share, so that's good too.
Yeah, no, you're right. They have flowers and they look pretty, and that's the debate. Some people are saying, some people are in your kind of camp that say, hey, they do something, they produce flowers. Who cares if they produce fruit? And other people are like, I want fruit. So, and we'll have to work that out amongst ourselves. So we'll see what happens.
We're gonna move on to the next question from Gail.
I just harvested my garlic. I don't think it was too early, but maybe I made a mistake. And the bulbs are smaller than usual. I've grown garlic for many years now, but I'm not very good at record keeping. I know that's a fault of mine. So I'm basically asking, because we always order our garlic seeds, you know, way before anything else generally. What kind do you recommend for taste, size? And I do try to store my garlic. I don't make it through the year, but I try to have maybe 6 months if I can.
So does anyone have any good garlic? It's funny. I found my garlic was smaller than usual this year as well. So, but I don't know if that was just a coincidence. But I don't know if anyone has any really brand of garlic that they recommend or love.
Gail in Saugerties, there's a garlic festival, and
Right, yeah.
and you can go there and get a varietal of garlics that are organic, and I mean, and just go to town. I mean, the elephant garlic, I really like, which is a big clove. It has a purple skin and tastes great.
Yeah, when's the festival? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'll look it up. I heard it's just a fun festival, you know, as well as getting your garlic. I did grow elephant garlic last year and it was enormous. And I wanted to give some to my French friend when she visited, and she said, "Oh no, I don't like the taste of that big clove. I like," and she was going through all my garlic to see what would suit a French cook. But so nobody, I mean,
Well, don't invite any
think-
vampires though to the festival.
Okay, well, you don't know the answers to everything. I'll keep on trying to, if I keep better record. I mean, the hard garlic, right? Hardneck, is that it? Tends to be better for storage. Yeah, okay.
I got my garlic last year from Southern Seed Exchange, and they had different variety packs that you could purchase based on if they were soft or hard neck, or they even had a combo package, but they sold out fairly quickly. So Southern Seed Exchange is the name of the company, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, garlic does sell out. If you remember on one call, our master gardener, Bill Mikowski, had forgotten to order his garlic and he couldn't find any. He just had, because you have to order it right after. I mean, you can order it during the summer or right after the summer, but by the winter, they're often sold out.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing I've heard too is if you have you could actually just break down a head of garlic and plant each clove. If it's organically done, it should be able to produce. I've heard that as well.
That would save money. Yeah, I think I have another question too, right?
Yes, you do.
Then I'll be quiet.
I know. What's up with you? You had a lot of questions. No, just kidding. We welcome all questions.
Questions are good.
Oh,
and here's Nicole. Nicole's the tomato master, so perfect.
This is just so basic. I should know how to take care of my tomato plants. I mean, if there's the little growth between the vines, I pick that off. But then, there's a lot of leaves near the bottom, near the ground, and I'm not sure if I should be picking those off. And I do plant them too close. I mean, I have to learn my lesson. But any advice, just simple advice, what I should do to take care of my tomato plants?
This is my wheelhouse, Chad. You know that.
Right.
All right, Gail, here, wait, I'll pop my video back on. So I would totally remove anything I do like 12 to 14 inches from the ground up, because I don't want any splashback from the rain to come back and hit those bottom leaves. We want to promote airflow throughout. And yeah, I do prune like a single lead and take out the suckers, right? That's what you're talking about, the ones in between in those armpits. Because a sucker will be a whole new tomato plant, which can be a good thing. If certain plants die, you can really just still keep putting things in the ground. Even up to right now, I've been trying a little bit. Forgive me while I've been on mute. Somebody's jumping around. but yeah, most certainly I prune back a lot. Like, and a lot of my friends have me coming over and helping now pruning theirs. You know, it's like a lot of the other plants. You could take up until like almost a whole third of the plant off. You know, if you have a sucker that's gone and you have 2 or 3 or 4 leads on that plant, you're going to spend so much time producing, the plant is going to spend so much time producing leaves and not putting a lot of energy into flowers. Or if there's too many flowers too, you know, you could be very selective depending on the kind of tomato that you're growing. In beefsteaks, I'm more selective. I'd rather get some really nice big, several really nice big tomatoes at a time rather than a bunch of really small ones. But for instance, I don't do that with cherries. Cherries, I'll just let them run amok because they're cherry tomatoes and they're delicious and you got to enjoy them in the season.
But it's funny, I guess people get nervous, but as Nicole produces hundreds of stuff. So, you know, I guess it's like getting a haircut. You don't want to cut too much, but it'll still grow.
Haircut, Chad? Did you say
Yeah,
haircut?
I was saying, very nice. You're always keeping us on our toes.
Did you say tomato? Red hair?
You know, Nicole, you mentioned that last week or the week before, and I went out and actually cut some of the suckers off the tomatoes, gave them to friends, and they took them home to root them. They've planted them. I never did that before. You know, I might have cut them back, but I never considered, you know, trying to root them. So I've got like 6 different people that now have tomato plants thanks to you.
Yeah. Oh no, that's beautiful. I love that. You know, I did my in-laws yesterday for them. I helped them trim back. And my husband had a colleague coming over and I had cut their sage too. And he came, I was like, do you want some sage and or potential tomato plants? Because here they are, you know, it's so easy. You could just take the sucker. I've had great success with just putting them in water and having the roots come out. I've also used a root inoculant, which is 100% organic, you know, that really helps and encourages and does it fast. And I just did an experiment at my in-laws yesterday where I took some of the suckers and I trimmed up. I gave them like a nice amount of space and put them straight in the dirt because under the right conditions, they should take off as well too. And if they're healthy plants, you know, I don't see why it shouldn't work.
That sounds great.
Tomatoes for everybody.
Yes.
Nicole, I hope you noticed I did rename you. You're welcome to change your name back. I did want to.
Oh, tomatoes are us.
Did you really?
I did want to make one comment on Gail's tomato plants, and that is, I would definitely mulch the ground under that. And one reason is to prevent this. Well, one reason is because you should just mulch all of your garden thing. Yeah, to keep weeds from coming up, but the splashback, to prevent the splashback. So if you can get something on there that's not, you're not going to get splashback on, then you can be lazy about cutting some of the bottom leaves, although it's probably the bottom leaves.
In season 1, you had recommended a leaf mulcher, you know, a little machine to cut up leaves. I went out and bought one. Is leaf mulch good for this? Or should I use straw or
any kind of mulch is good, actually. I think you know, leaf mulch, grass clippings, straw, hay without seeds. This year I'm using hay without seed. You know, I bought hay at Adams, and I'm heavily mulching it, and I'm constantly I want to try. I'm experimenting with it, and I'm putting like just a ton of straw hay mulch down, and because I have a bindweed problem in that plot, and it's suppressing the bindweed. I think it's suppressing the spread of the Colorado potato beetle onto my plants, and my plants are growing like crazy. So yeah, any kind of mulch is good. But definitely, I agree with Michael. You're going to get splashback, like Nicole said, and then once you start getting those leaf spots, you know, the diseases,
blight, all of it.
Forget it. You know, it's just a matter of time before you know. And the sad part is that so many people grow tomatoes, and by middle of August, the plants they're dead, and there's so much more left of the season. So yeah, definitely, yeah.
So you mentioned beetles. You might as well go to the next question. It was a segue.
Don't tell. My potato plants look so good, and I was so worried. I was like, is the beetle coming? Is it about the potato beetle?
Yeah,
No, it's,
I've had a ton of Japanese beetles too.
and I haven't had Japanese beetles for a few years, but this is, I put in a fence. So this is the first year I can really grow flowers.
Hmm.
And they've totally attacked my honeysuckle. No, not my honeysuckle, my hollyhocks, sorry, that were doing so well. And I just, I mean, I was just wondering if other people are dealing with them this year.
I'm
Yes.
overrun.
Yeah.
And
Ton.
what are you doing about it?
Hand picking and stomping on them. I was throwing away into the air, but then I discovered they fly and they come right back. And I tend to practice ahimsa. I'm a vegetarian. I don't kill anything. But these beetles, I'm stomping on because they literally are decimating everything. They are not picky. They'll eat everything down to the ground.
Yeah, they love my cherry trees. It's funny. We got a little pool this year, and it's saving my life because like every morning in the filter, there's like 20 dead beetles. So I hate to say it. I'm like, it's like become it's really awesome, the pool.
Chad, as far as I'm
But,
aware,
like,
there's only
it's like
3
they kill, I guess they drop in the pool water, and then I'm like, oh, this is like saving my plants.
It's a natural pool aside.
I don't know. I guess they go for a dip and they can't get out.
Has anyone used neem oil? Does neem oil work on them?
I've tried that in the past and I found it worked at first and then it stopped working.
Okay.
So I don't know if they got used to it or, what the deal was, but I used it and I thought, oh, this is great. And then I realized a month later they were all back.
But how do you apply it?
Just sorry, letting you guys know it's 9 o'clock, which is, but I'm planning, I can go over it, but letting you guys know, just give me a heads up.
We pick ours off and we put them in soap. And that's, you just go by hand and it's like picking berries and you just put them in soap. And
No, why does everyone put them in soap? Because that kills them, or just like you don't have to squish them or something, or just it's easier?
Kills them quicker.
Yeah.
Because it drowns them quicker. Their breathing system is basically holes in their body. That they don't have lungs, they have holes in their body. So when you put them in soap, it breaks down the surface area of the water. And the water just goes into them and drowns them quicker.
Yeah, I've got hundreds of them, and it's crazy.
The other thing I want to remind people is raspberries are popping right now. So just like get out and get your raspberries or wine berries.
Yeah,
Great.
The first time I saw the Japanese beetles in the garden and they were all over the raspberry leaves I have. I didn't even know they ate raspberries, but I mean raspberry leaves, but I guess they're not picky.
I've seen them in the blueberries. They love blueberries too. They just, that's when I was picking blueberries, there was tons of Japanese beetles eating blueberries up.
They're killing my basil.
Princeton in our garden.
Basil?
They'll eat anything.
I was gonna say, I guess they eat everything at this point. We're all naming different plants.
Yeah, it's just so nasty. They just eat everything in their path.
Nobody has any luck with any kind of spray. I mean, you mentioned the neem spray. I thought maybe, or they sell organic sprays.
What is that? I can never say that word right. Diatomaceous earth.
I'm thinking that things may need to be rotated. Like I had the neem and it worked for a while. I probably needed to try something else and then go back to the neem and maybe confuse them a little bit so they don't, like the Borg, they
keep them on their toes.
How about a safer soap? Has anyone tried like a safer soap, an insecticidal soap? Or they, does it just not knock them out? It's almost
that. It didn't work, but I didn't try it in conjunction, and do the rotation. But I tried that one year, and I sprayed everything till it was dripping.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, they were back.
Probably just as easy to hand pick them at that point, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you have to spray virtually everything in your garden, right? Because they're not picky; they'll just eat anything.
Yeah.
To me, makes no sense. I'll just.
Sorry, Gail. I just want to say, Michelle said the Saugerties Garlic Festival is October 2nd and 3rd this year.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you. I mean, I think we enjoy these Suarez so much because we commiserate. I was alone with my Japanese beetles for the last few days and feeling miserable.
Yeah,
I
well,
think we should plan a road trip and carpool and go to the garlic festival, whoever wants to go.
Oh, wow.
yeah, I like it.
That
That
would be
sounds
fun.
good.
Yeah.
Last year about this time for the Zoom garden plot, someone did a really good presentation on berries and like wine berries and stuff. I just put a link in the chat if you want to watch that video. There it is. Garrett was mentioning it's. I've been watching the wine berries around here and getting
Yeah.
ready.
So,
And they're delicious. They're really good.
all right, and
One of the local pages has been mentioning Spectricide, which is bag-a-bug, a Japanese beetle trap. So you're not spraying pesticide, but it's luring them in and trapping them.
but you know what? I think I've talked to Stacy in the garden center, Greenwood Lake Garden Center. She warned me about one of those traps that when they drop in there, then it becomes almost like a beacon call to the,
Yes.
you know, like it does kill the ones in the garden, but I guess whatever draws them in also sends us, you know, summoning beacon to, you know, every beetle in a 10-mile radius or something. So it's like a catch-22.
Put one
Okay,
in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, well, maybe, I don't know.
that's not a bad idea.
Now Melissa couldn't join us today, but Michelle, this is how your mugwort is doing. Melissa,
Oh,
she sent me
great.
pictures that she, I guess you had an abundance of mugwort and you invited her to take some, and she did, and putting it to good use.
I'll extend the same invitation to anybody from Montgomery who wants mugwort. Please come and help yourselves. It's another
Thank
thing,
you.
along with the beetles, I'm just fighting back the mugwort.
So come take beetles, mugwort, and bamboo.
Yes.
All right, Patricia, sorry, a little squish these pictures if you want to talk about them.
Okay, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. My veggie plot is so like overpacked. I didn't have any room for anything else, and I had these seeds, cucumber seeds that I hadn't planted yet. So I got my grandson to drill holes in the bottom of an old paddling pool, and we chucked soil in there and planted them. That was last weekend, and they're coming up already.
Yeah.
So that was it.
And your cucumbers, so I guess, you know, you're going to have to trellis them up, or you're going to let them just run over the edges?
I don't know. I just saw that people had trellises.
You didn't think that far ahead, right?
No, not at all.
But the thing with the trellis, if you miss a couple of days, it's kind of over, because then it's hard to get them straightened out enough to get them on the trellis.
Yeah.
I
So
think
that
I'll just let them
mush on
go
mine.
haywire.
I'm sorry?
I think I'll probably just let them go haywire.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, and it looks like you're growing very good stuff in your garden. I see all over.
Yeah, but I really need to mulch. I took that to heart.
Okay, now we have some announcements. Our next Zoom garden plot is going to be Monday, July 26th, 8 p.m. again. Michael, do you want to give a little shout out for the?
Yeah, if you could stop sharing the screen, please.
Sure.
So if I could see a show of hands, how many people here get an Orange and Rockland bill? Get an electricity bill from Orange and Rockland? I see a show of hands. Okay. And what about Mark and Terry? Who's your electric company?
Central Hudson.
Oh, you're Central Hudson. Oh, well.
Yeah.
So, okay. So if you have your own solar panels, put your hand down. Well, everyone's put their hand down, but basically if you get your electricity from Orange and Rockland and you don't have your own solar panels, you could be signing up for community solar. And it's easy to sign up. There's no fees. There's no trouble. You don't get rid of your ESCO. You keep O&R. All that stays the same, but you get 10% off your electricity bill, and you get $100 sign-up bonus, and you could get $100 for Chad's Grow Local Greenwood Lake through their Triple Wing campaign. It's just going on a few more days.
I signed up last week and I couldn't find it when I went into Google. I kept getting all sorts of, so I finally wrote and said, hey, what's the address? And it took 10 minutes. because I considered getting solar panels about 15 years ago. But then I thought, I don't know, and the cost, and this is simple. You don't need the solar panels, and it's just quick and easy.
And I signed up last year. It's, it's a great, my bills are definitely lower, and I got $100, and Sustainable Warwick got some money. So, it's one of the few things that, even though it sounds too good to be true, it actually is true.
Yeah.
So, a few days left, I would definitely recommend it.
We want to be equal opportunity here. You could support Grow Local Greenwood. Like, there are 5 other nonprofits that we've got lined up that could get the money: the Humane Society, the Historical Society. I didn't say that on the recording, did I?
Yes, you did.
Safe Space America, the Community Center, and Family Central. We really tried to find something that anyone in the community could be interested in supporting. And they have community solar up in Central Hudson also. If you guys aren't signed up there, it's worth signing up. I know they've got it up there also.
Yeah, thanks. Our CAC pushes solar a lot. We push renewable energy a lot.
Very good, very good. Then, and I'm not sure if it's on there or not, but
wait, let me see. Hold on. Don't you? I think I probably put it. Well, we have the Repair Cafe, which is a great service. I think, is this the first one since like COVID or?
Yes, yes, and that's this Saturday.
And I don't know if you guys have one by you, but yeah, this is a great service, and I really it's such an amazing thing to fix things. Imagine that, right? Like the old days when you could fix things and they could bring you bring in bike parts or laptops, tablets, all these things. They'll do this for free. They'll show you how to do it.
They'll sharpen your tools.
Right, sharpen your tools and knife. It's really a great service, and I recommend signing up or telling everyone about it.
I haven't seen that since I was a kid. You used to be able to take your things over to Murray. Yeah.
Well, Murray might be there. Well, this is my very simplistic way of saying we have I don't know if you want to talk. You said you wanted to say something about this as well.
I can, yeah, just briefly. Occasionally, what's his name? Ermin Silkovich from the county the county coordinating recycling coordinator. Yeah, he occasionally will set up these sales, and there probably is going to be something through the village of Warwick where you can buy rain barrels and compost bins. We've got a couple of the rain barrels from that, and they're really useful. You have to, if you're catching rain off of an asphalt roof, you can't use that on food you're going to eat, but you can use it for your flowers and other things in the garden. And it's, for us, it's been helpful because one of the downspouts wasn't actually draining well, and so now it goes in the rain barrel, and we put it somewhere we want it as opposed to backing up in that one pipe. So, but it's a good opportunity.
And we'll have more information soon, right, on a date. Okay.
Yes. And here's a big one. The 3rd Wednesday of August, we'll be having the annual Zero Waste Potluck Picnic. And this year we're having it at the town park over on Union Corners Road. Even if you aren't a regular Sustainable Warwick member, anyone who participates in the Zoom garden plot, we'd love to have you there. It would be a good chance to see everyone in person.
Yes, you're all welcome. So that's all I have for the on my slideshow. But then thank you guys very much. We appreciate it. Thank you, Mark and Terry, for joining us. And
thanks for inviting us. I really appreciate it. It was great. Very nice meeting.
Yeah, and you feel to join us again, and let us know how it goes with your hopefully setting up one by you.
Yeah, I'm going to bring this back to we have a meeting tomorrow. I'm going to bring this back, and I'm going to push it hard that hopefully we can get a better attendance and they can see what this is about, and we can set something up, because this was a very, very nice meeting. I really appreciate you guys inviting us.
Great.
I agree.
Does anyone else have any questions before we cut off?
I have one just about lettuces. And when is the last point, and I wish Bill was here, that we can plant summer lettuces that you can continue to harvest adequately covered over the colder post-frost days in terms of lower light? And I thought someone here might know.
Well, I'm saying Bill is a rare breed. He continuously plants lettuce. Like he just
Year
keeps
round,
on.
year round.
Well, I mean, I don't know if he, in February if it's 10 below zero, but he'll put in new batches and he really harvests, way past the point. And most of us kind of need to come down a little bit off the season. He just continuously has a rotation of food that, he tries to eat as much as food as he can grow.
I had
once-
greens all year, but I wasn't planting new.
Once the hot weather breaks, in September or so, you can plant then till and you'll get a good crop. I wouldn't plant in the heat of the summer unless you have some system worked out Bill.
Bill covers. He has a cover.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's got
Yeah,
a system.
He's very rare. Like I can't do it. But
I agree. It's really tough in the heat of the summer. But usually, if you want a fall crop, and you don't want to go to that intricate that kind of setup, you can usually plant sometime in September when the heat breaks.
Yeah.
And because what happens is you get the heat, you're going to get the bolting, and once it bolts, it turns bitter. So and then that you can do the rotations up until. I mean, if you can get baby lettuce, you can plant it, and 2 weeks later you got baby lettuce. So you could probably plant well until October, get a late frost.
Did you say October,
Michelle,
Mark?
it's up to you how diligent you want to, how much you want to stay on top of it. If you want to cover it, well, you say you have shade, so you might be able to
have a shade house instead of a greenhouse.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
but you said your garden has a lot of shade, right? So you might be able to, as long as you're not going to get intense heat, you could keep growing it, really.
Yeah, no, I was not worried about the heat. I was really worried about when is the last time you can plant so you have enough light to get it beyond, the baby stage. And I just don't know what that magic date is, because I can keep growing. I can go up 2 zones even beyond what we have here with my adequate covering, because I have the hoops, I have the greenhouse. I just don't know when the light begins to dwindle so much. That was just my question. But okay.
All right. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good day.